You have to be familiar with what this stuff looks like. So Google what a pen looks like in cartridge, because you might not even recognize what's sitting right before your very eyes.
Welcome to another episode in the springtime of Girls Gone Gritty. We're so excited to feel like life is good again. Everything's coming back to life in beautiful New Jersey. My son, who had suffered an injury, is cleared for lacrosse season. We've got lots of scrimmages and fun stuff. But Farley, I think you had some amazing things happen in the lacrosse world.
Just getting back from Virginia, where the WLL, which is the Women's Lacrosse League, professional league, made their debut in an all-star sixes format. 4 teams of women. The men were playing simultaneously. That's the PLL. And New York Charging, the Bulls, which is the team my daughter is on, went the distance and won it all.
That's amazing.
That was very fun. A lot of drama, incredible athletes all on one field, the best of the best. Charlotte North chases on Team Izzy, and watching what each player is capable of doing brings out serious emotions and drama. Everybody's given it 110%.
Goodale all over Smith. Jill Smith run over by her own player. Flags come in, but that seemed like palms on palms. Oh my. Natty Buss, the California head coach, has taken down Kendall Halpern.
If you don't know, PLL, Professional Lacrosse League, goes on tour, correct, in various cities. They'll play a tournament and move around. That's the way that they're trying to format this sport in preparation for the Olympics. Speaking of the Olympics, if you haven't tuned into any of the Paralympics, that's concluding and has been incredible, but they don't cover it like they do the Olympics. It's really sad that the viewership for it, you have to go on Peacock and have to subscribe, and you only get limited amount of sports that you can watch live. It's a real bummer. We've covered many disabled and Paralympic people in our episodes, and I think we need to create a movement to get the Paralympics a higher level of recognition in this country.
I haven't even seen advertisements for it.
Correct.
To tell you the truth, I haven't been in front of my TV, but they should be promoting this just as much, if not more, because if you have a handicapped and you're an Olympic athlete, that's incredible right there. Yes. Signing up gritty enough to continue on.
The fact that they say there's sports fatigue after the Olympics and viewership drops off, I think that's BS. That's why they don't get the brand sponsors and they don't get the advertising revenue. And I think that that's egregious. And I would love to see that change. So let's try and bring some awareness to that and get some brands on board to support these incredible athletes that have done the same amount of training.
They should have Paralympic events happening simultaneously during the regular events in key time slots so that people are forced, let's say they're more of a captive audience, and highlight some of the bigger Paralympic events so they get the same viewership and opportunity. That's what I propose.
I agree. I think you have top 3s that didn't make the gold medal platform, but we're going to highlight them here today.
Now, this one definitely didn't. Number 3. Oops. She did it again. Poor Brittany can't get out of her own way.
Oh my goodness, Brittany. And I'm not sure what the influence, whether it was drugs or alcohol, and it really doesn't matter. Unfortunately, she's in the headlines a lot. And the conservatorship she had was dissolved in the Free Britney movement. It's unfortunate that she doesn't have a good infrastructure around her. She's 44 years old and grew up in the spotlight from being on Disney with Justin Timberlake. And she's the most decorated singer almost all time, in the same likes of Whitney Houston, and yet equally tragic.
If you're bipolar, it does start to manifest later in life. It could be between the ages of 16 and 22, something like that. There's obviously something significant going on with this woman, and a trail, just her shaving off her hair and doing things so publicly. If you follow her Instagram account and watch her tireless dancing, looking disheveled, sometimes smoking a cigarette while twirling around, you know something's off. So maybe she did need a conservatorship. The sad thing is you don't know if the people in charge of it had her best interest at heart, and if it was more for monetary gain. She needed somebody that was appointed to her, that was a neutral person that had her back no matter what, so that there was no conflict of interest.
We have our segment where we read the lyrics at the end, but I was saying afar, the song "You Want a Piece of Me" is actually so insane. It was written in 2007, and it starts off with, "I miss American dream since I was 17. Don't matter if I step on the scene or sneak away to the Philippines. They're still going to put pictures of my derriere in the magazine. You want a piece of me. I miss bad karma another day, another drama. Guess I can't see the harm in working and being a mama. With a kid on my arm, I still am an exceptional earner. You want a piece of me. And it goes on to say, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm never enough, but you always want a piece of me. I can't imagine what it's like to grow up like that.
I saw an interview with Kevin Federline, one of her husbands that she had her children with. And he said, what can we do to protect her? I don't want my kids to have to go through hideous loss. Even he wants the best for her because she is the mother of his children.
Of course.
It's sad.
It's sad. I would say don't free Britney. I pray for Britney. I hope that somebody who loves her is able to help her because she's a train wreck.
She is. Number 2, you're fired, says Trump. No one more.
This story is egregious. She spent $250 million on an advertising campaign. If you've watched them, I've seen them in New York. I didn't see the one where she's got Mount Rushmore behind her, but that one aired in places that were not our demographic. She was in cowboy hats and chaps and looking spectacular.
Homeland Security Secretary. That's who we're discussing. If you don't know who she is.
Everyone knows who Kristi Noem is because she spent $250 million.
Because she's a gnome, Gnome.
When you start to scratch the surface, and this congressional inquiry did, this company took $143 million in a no bid contract, meaning they got it without any other contract from a company that was formed 8 days prior.
Fishy.
Safe America Media, and has no website, no physical location, and has ties to
all of her friends,
political parties, friends, and everybody that she's done business with. And I question as to why this is not criminal. I really don't understand why this is not criminal.
She was also the governor of South Dakota.
Yes.
And I guarantee if she was embezzling or sneakily doing illegal activities, there's a trail somewhere that will connect the dots to her there as well. And yes, she should be prosecuted.
She should be
She
held
should not be
accountable.
given another office or a different title. She should be an example of what you cannot do in this country. It's illegal. It's a crime, and you're in jail. Don't pass go and collect $200. Wear your zoot suit. She probably looks good in orange.
I would love to see her in orange or black and white stripes, whatever it is these days.
Number 1, let's get crazy responsibly. Live wide open. Crazy Mountain.
How come George Clooney and Randy Gerber always seem to nail it, what the trends are? Casa Amiga Tequila killed it. A $1 billion brand. They launched that right as alcohol was starting to wane past COVID. And now they're on the trend with a non-alcoholic beer that plugs into the Yellowstone biopic of Westerns.
Vibes. The exterior of the can and the whole campaign looks like you are out west with a cowboy dressed in his regalia with a horse. Landman is also a huge trend. They're nailing it.
Yeah. Listen, where there's money, people are very motivated, and they're finding that everybody wants to don a cowboy hat and get back on the ranch.
And people aren't drinking as much anymore, and they recognized it, and it's on trend to not be drinking, but you still want something that you can have after a long day or a sporting event or while you're golfing, and it tastes the same. It's like decaf coffee, right? You're going to have something that still feels like you're socializing in a festive way, only you're not taking on the alcohol.
Yeah. And men will hop on the trend because if George and Randy want it, it must be amazing.
Exactly.
What's not amazing is what we're going to be talking about today. And talking about hopping on trends is what we want to dive into. And these two substances go together, nicotine and caffeine, and
both addictive.
They both have very addictive qualities, and both impacts our youth and the way that our bodies work.
And there's a lot of misconceptions out there because the vaping scene is complicated. I used to think that a vape could be for pot and nicotine. So I did my due diligence because I don't understand vaping. And there are disposable vapes that are very convenient. They're pre-charged and pre-filled.
Like Juuls.
And those are the ones that you see that people throw out their window along the road.
Could you please not do that anymore?
I walk my dog and I'm like, what is up?
And that's not disposable.
No.
That's called littering.
Yes,
And
it is
disgusting.
Then there's pod systems. They're compact, they're portable, they're refillable. There's vape pens. They're rechargeable. You can fill with your choice. They're thinner, a little easier to manage. Then you have box mods. They have custom settings and intense flavor and a longer battery life. And you have cigalikes that look, feel, and taste a little more similar to a cigarette. Look at all these options. And the specialized vapes, they need dry herb vaporizers for pot. So what I found out is that wax pens, dab pens, 510 thread battery type pens are capable for THC and CBD when you go into a gas station and you're buying vape like most teenagers have access to.
And that's part of the problem. When you go into a gas station, you can buy yourself an energy drink and a vape pen without thinking about it.
Yeah.
And vape pens has been rebranded as a technological, safe way to deliver your buzz. And because of the technological aspect of it, people don't feel that it's as nefarious as smoking a cigarette. It's like, oh, well, they've engineered it safer. It's not as much of a dosing. And all of that is completely untrue. Well, the vape pens they've shown can be very damaging to young people's lungs.
Chemicals.
Because not only the chemicals, the heat in which they need to rate and get the oil to is much higher, and it can actually damage the lungs in many ways.
Crystals can form on the lungs, and you don't even realize until you have a child that isn't waking up because they've vaped and their lungs have already suffered severe damage, and you take them to the hospital and they recognize that there's holes and crystallization forming. It happens when it's too late. It's not like they just start wheezing and not feeling good. One day you're healthy and the next day you're in the hospital.
Not only do parents not know, unlike cigarettes where you would leave cigarette butts, your hands would smell and you would smell of smoke. I remember back when cigarettes were still allowed in bars and restaurants, I would come home and I'd have to take a shower.
I would lose my voice.
Smoking just because of the smoke in the room. I couldn't go to sleep because it was in my hair.
So they did help us with the secondary smoke. You know, we're not inhaling anybody else's smoke. So your disgusting habit isn't going to reap some negative effects on me because everything smells like candy. Watermelons and cherry, it's enticing to the younger crowd. They use sweeteners and flavors that make it taste good when you're doing a pouch or a Zyn. It's limitless. It's like being a kid in the candy store. You can go in and there's all these choices and there's all kinds of different ways that they can get away with selling this stuff on platforms that are not approved to sell nicotine, which sucks.
And again, the crazy and scary thing about it is that technically you have to be 21 to buy most of these products. And the marketing for them does not reflect that 21 market. They market them with things that are very teen oriented because they're taking playbooks that came from Philip Morris and all the large tobacco companies to get people addicted at a very young age and create these dopamine pathways that signal more need for the product.
Nicotine use during adolescence can disrupt the formation of brain circuits that control your attention span, learning, and susceptibility to addiction. These products are available on platforms that prohibit tobacco sales like Google, Target, eBay, Amazon. And what we're talking about is Zyn, Velo, On with an apostrophe, Rogue, Lucy, Alp, which is endorsed by somebody we all love. When you put a famous character with a product, tell them who owns Alp.
Oh, well, that's Tucker Carlson. He was actually on a podcast talking about how he liked Zyn so much. A lot of people will say that these products help them limit their tobacco use, meaning if they were
They're trying to cut down.
They were doing dip, or if they were a cigarette smoker, then they would come to these. It's not the case. It's just another vehicle to ingest these.
They're saying smoking is the fastest delivery of nicotine still, but I'm going to tell you all the different apparatuses that you can get nicotine into your body, real nicotine or synthetic. We have hookahs, nicotine pouches, snuff, chewing tobacco, nicotine replacement therapies, strips, gum, lozenges, inhalers, patches, snus. And yes, I did say snus. It's ground tobacco that goes under the upper lip and it doesn't require spitting. SNUS. There's nasal sprays and everything is sweet and fruity flavored if you'd like.
And the sad statement is that 1 in 5 age kids, high school age, like 14 to let's call it 18, use all these products. And e-cigarettes lead the pack. 20% use that. Or the next, cigarettes are still a thing.
They've been coming back.
They've got a little bit of a resurgence. And the smokeless tobacco, which are these Zyn packets, they're the fastest rising tobacco products being promoted because kids are able to keep these little packets in their rooms. They look like gum.
I'll tell you.
Little containers.
Yes, they do. We're going to show you again. It does look like a dipped can, but it also looks like gummies or mints. I have a story that is in line with this, and it revolves around a D1 athlete. I went to visit Mackenzie and watch a lacrosse game when she was playing still. And a friend of hers who was also on the team smelled like cinnamon. And we were at a bar. And I said, ooh, I want whatever that is. You have an atomic fireball or what are you sucking on? And she's like, oh, no, this is Zyn. Mm-hmm. And I said, what is Zyn? And then she showed me, she took it out and showed me it on her tongue. And it looked like a long rectangular chiclet and it was white. Mm-hmm. And I said, wait, are you chewing that? And she's like, no, this is like tobacco, but not. It's a little more friendly for girls too. And it gives me a buzz. And I like to do Zyns while I drink. And I was blown away because this was a girl, a D1 athlete that was zinning and drinking. That's socially acceptable for women too.
It's because they're so smart. If you look at these Zyns, they're little white pillows. So cute and fluffy.
Should have a skull and crossbones on it. It should be like poison.
It very much so. And I agree with that. If you were traveling to Europe and you go to buy a box of cigarettes, they put what your lungs look like. They have to show terrible images to
instead of glamorizing it.
Correct. To make it reality as to what could potentially happen to you. These tobacco companies are smart. So they've replaced the cigarette with smart nicotine technology. They've replaced TV ad campaign. Where do they go? They go to social media where there are no rules.
They go to movies and they show a celebrity or the main character in Landman or Yellowstone smoking a cig to relieve some anxiety and stress and glamorize it. And it's becoming attractive looking again. And it makes people want to try it with a cocktail like Carolyn Bessette, the love story right now. Every single episode, Carolyn can't smoke enough. And even JFK Jr. takes the cigarette from her and smokes. It was a 90s thing. It was cool. It looked like, you were a badass, a rebel. It was socially acceptable and definitely a part of the fashion world.
The 90s were full of cigars, cigarettes, tobacco, dipping. They were full of that. But the truth is we have to recognize that they're just repackaging it, rebranding it, skirting the rules, figuring out how to use social media, how to use these series to make it look glamorous again. And the regulations on these platforms, let's just call it Instagram and Facebook and all the social media, is not there to protect us like on television. And that's a large problem because I don't think the youth understands the downsides of these stimulants that become a dopamine response. And then you get addicted. And even when I was growing up, I didn't drink coffee until probably 10 years ago. These kids go to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks. They have a cup of coffee or a caffeinated beverage before they go to school. They go to school, and a lot of the kids go in their monster drinks full of caffeine, which again is a stimulant like nicotine. And then they leave and they do a Zyn or they take a vape. And then they go home and they're on their screens.
And it's a gateway for a million different things. And it's too early to know if synthetic nicotine is safe. Every single website that I went to see, what are they finding out about all these synthetic versions? We know what cigarettes do and the cancer causing repercussions, but what is all this other stuff? Every ingredient that you can imagine is in a Zyn. We just read the back of it and it was disturbing. It says, Zyn pouches are generally considered less harmful than vaping because they avoid lung exposure, eliminating risks like EVAL and direct lung damage. But they are not safe, posing significant risks to oral health, gum recession, mouth sores, and cardiovascular health, while still delivering highly addictive nicotine. Vaping introduces inhaled chemicals, potentially causing lung inflammation and damage. But Zyn's risk center on oral tissues and nicotine addiction, making the choice dependent on which harm profile is less severe experts are stressing neither is a safe option, and there's not enough research out there to determine what the long-term causes are.
Of course not. And again, we're coming back to our Food and Drug Administration trying to take hold on food. We know these things cannot be good for us. We know this.
Why are we okay letting our kids do something that's a lab rat experiment with no results? Truly, it's frightening. Caffeine intake in teens causes insomnia, anxiety, heart palpitations, and dependency, which becomes the gateway for other addictions.
Correct.
There are benefits to caffeine on some levels, but when you look at the energy drink situation, they have negative neurological symptoms like jitteriness, nervousness, and restlessness. They can increase your blood pressure, can increase dehydration. It disrupts your sleep pattern, and it can also interfere with calcium absorption. So when you look at the benefits of caffeine consumption, it says increased alertness and cognitive functions. This is if you have less than 400 milligrams a day max. Up to.
And 400 is a pretty high bar from what I read. Both caffeine and nicotine do the same thing, and it's the heightened awareness. They both have the similar ramifications and withdrawal symptoms. And although caffeine is not as highly addictive, they still create this cycle of dopamine release that becomes a problem because you continually need it. And when you try and get off of it, you have major issues.
These are some of the positive effects of caffeine: improved mood, improved metabolism. Your metabolism goes up a little bit, lowers the risks of diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, stimulates your dopamine, as you're saying. It's an antioxidant and has tannins, theobromine, and theophylline. Those are the antioxidants that it contains, and it could reduce long-term heart failure. However, I want to put one
big asterisk.
I'd like to put an ingredient on your radar that I had no idea about. I thought guarana, Guarana, was a vitamin, something that you could take to give you energy because it's a plant.
Because it starts with a G.
Well, no, it's unmeasured caffeine. It's an Amazonian plant that has seeds that contain 4 times more caffeine than coffee beans. So you think that you're popping something that's delicious for you, but meanwhile, you're getting 4 times more caffeine than coffee beans. And that is in a lot of energy drinks, protein bars. So just realize that you can consume caffeine in so many more ways beyond just drinking caffeine.
Well, again, this comes back to reading the labels on whatever you are consuming. Like the Monster Energy, I think I read it has like 380 milligrams of caffeine, which again, Farley mentioned 400 is your daily limit. And I always look at the limits that we've imposed in the United States. And because of what we've learned, they put the limits too high. Whatever they recommend, I would say it's probably half of that, if not less, because even the sugar numbers are insane. But if you're not reading the labels, if you don't understand what you're ingesting and you're getting addicted to thin packs, vaping, energy drinks, your cup of coffee, you got to be careful with your Starbucks. Even some of the spritzers have caffeine in them. People don't understand that.
Seltzers have caffeine.
Knowing what type of stimulants you're putting into your system, as we've said numerous times, especially if you have a child under the age of 25, because we know now that the brain does not develop and the prefrontal lobe, is affected by all these stimulants that can affect your ability to focus, affect your ability to stay present. You get into these cycles and they get very hard to break as an adult.
Keep an eye on the prize, guys. Watch your bills as they come in. See what your kids are buying on Amazon, what's coming in a Target box, what people are bidding on eBay. College students that are out of sight, out of mind, look at the paper trail, because you will see that your kids can purchase those types of products on those platforms.
And don't be afraid to go clean your kid's room or help clean out their car every once in a while, because you're such a good mom. And you may find a few things that you needed to know.
I remember the first time that I stumbled upon a vape cartridge that could be charged. I thought it was a USB memory for a computer. I found it in Mackenzie's room and I said, "Hey, what is this? Don't you need this for your computer?" And she was mortified and claimed it wasn't hers. And I was like, wow, this doesn't even look like paraphernalia. It looked like a memory stick for her computer. So wake up. It's right underneath your very nose. And I guarantee if you do a little snoop session, you will find something, unfortunately.
And guess what? It gives you an opportunity to have a conversation because they are being marketed and lied to, and they are making money off your child's health.
Yep.
So again, eye on the prize, meaning your family, your children.
I took a picture of that. I put it in our family group chat, and I was like, I cannot believe that I am raising vapors. And they thought it was so funny because they really aren't vapors. I think that they've all tried to vape at some point in time, but they're really not vapors. And I don't even know if vapor is a word. But they took a picture of that in our family group chat and put it out on social media for all their friends to see. And everybody was dying laughing, thinking that it was so funny that I took a picture of memory stick. So
it's an anti-memory stick.
It is. You have to be familiar with what this stuff looks like. So Google what a pen looks like in cartridge, because you might not even recognize what's sitting right before your very eyes.
We'll post some pictures and links to some resources for you, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. Have the conversation with your kid, with your spouse. Many of our spouses are doing the Zins. Many of our adults, family members are doing some of these energy drinks. We're not trying to vilify anyone. We're trying to create awareness and conversation, as we always do.
We sure are.
And I would like to have a conversation about our Got Grit Award winner this week.
Getting jiggy with it.
She is a true badass. Gisele Pelicot, you are our Got Grit Award winner of the week. A woman with radical courage, suffered imaginable betrayal, and leaned into humiliation to expose the truth. So the story of this woman is incredible. She found out after more than 20 years of marriage that her husband,
and 3 kids later,
was drugging her at night and bringing in men to have sex with her,
unbeknownst to her,
for more than a decade. So there's more than 50. They think it could be as high as 70 people were raping this poor woman at night. A couple of times she woke up and she's like, God, I feel like I blacked out last night. I can't remember things. I don't feel great. Are you drugging me, honey?
It turns out he was.
It got busted because he was upskirting women in a grocery store.
Which I've never heard the term upskirt. So explain that, Jen.
So upskirting means that you have a camera or a device looking up your dress. He was following a woman around the grocery store
and videoing it.
And she decided to press charges. So the police in France went to his home, got his computer, and found hours of video of his wife having sex with multiple men that she did not know and was obviously drugged. So when this came falling apart for Gisele, she decided that the court wanted her to keep this private. She was a victim and she did not need to have a name or a face. And she turned the tide on it and said, shame needs to be pushed onto the person who deserves it. He is shameful, terrible, and inhumane. And she made the trial completely public and brought attention to the fact that men were complicit in this. They made it okay. Rape victims should not be embarrassed. They should not feel shamed. They should stand up for their rights and step into the light, because that's where the truth lies.
And the only thing her husband did right was video all of this hideousness so that there is a
digital trail.
There's a digital trail to all these scumbags that came in and out of their bedroom. And right now, how many people are being prosecuted?
Right now, I think people have been prosecuted, but there's still more to come. She just released a book called Hymn to Life. Shame has to change sides. There's a movie about it too called the Pelicot rape case, a town on trial, because people within town knew people were involved.
Keeper of each other's secrets. It's kind of like an Epstein nightmare.
And the reason that it hits home and why she's so gritty is because it does take courage to step into something like that. You're embarrassed. You have 3 children with this person. Everybody thought they were the perfect couple. Everyone talked about how wonderful they were. So the scale and the duration of the crime was terrible. You can't even imagine what this poor woman went through. Gritty because you took a Me Too movement, and now people that feel that they've been victimized and terrorized have a voice.
We're going to go to a song that shows everything isn't all peaches and cream and not always sunny days. And this song can bring you hope and make sense of when it's cloudy and rainy. Eventually the sun comes out again. Here comes the rain again, falling on my head like a memory, falling on my head like a new emotion. I want to walk in the open wind. I want to talk like lovers do. Want to dive into your ocean. Is it raining with you? So baby, talk to me.
Like lovers do.
Here Comes the Rain Again.
Oh, I love the Eurythmics.
That is Annie Lennox. And that song came on the other day when I was driving, and I sang every word, and I forgot I knew every word. You can interpret it every single time you hear it in whatever way you need it.
We all need to continue to move on, move forward, to look to the rain to bring happiness and joy and to wash away sorrows.
Agreed.
And
rainbows. We love rainbows. Thank you so much for tuning into us. Continue to share any episodes that you like, and almost at 100,000 downloads. See you next Thursday.
peace out.